speaking of dysfunction in Washington, as you guys know, Senator Menendez of New Jersey, Democrat of New Jersey, was indicted on stunning allegations of corruption last week. I mean, truly the details here are cartoonishly mind-blowing.
Yes.
Like, they found hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in this guy's house, stuffed into
These little
what it was
jacket
like
pockets.
a jacket that literally had his name on it.
Imagine.
Gold bars. And the allegation here is that that he got this cash and the gold bars and like a luxury car for his wife and house payments and all this other stuff in exchange for doing favors for these Egyptian businessmen, and also doing favors, by the way, for the Egyptian government.
Yep.
This is the man who was, until this all came out, head chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. So the fact that he's doing favors on behalf of a foreign government, and by the way, this is the second time he's been indicted over corruption charges, is just absolutely stunning. Perhaps even more stunning, though, has been his response. You would think someone would have a little bit of shame about this, but nope, not at all. Put this up on the screen. So he had the gall to respond to calls for his resignation with a new statement saying, "It's not lost on me how quickly some are rushing to judge a Latino and push him out of his seat. I am not going anywhere." And by the way, he's expected to give a press conference this morning in which he announces his re-election days after these indictment charges come down. We'll wait and see what he actually says. But the gall to claim some sort of identity-based persecution over what are absolutely cartoonish, a caricature of corruption in terms of the allegations, is just absolutely stunning. And by the way, it is quite the opposite, because again, this is the second time this man has been indicted on corruption charges. Now, the other ones got thrown out, and so let's say innocent until proven guilty, all of that. But you would think that perhaps after the first corruption indictment charges, maybe at the very least, they wouldn't have made him chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee.
Don't forget, Krystal, it wasn't that they thrown out. It said it was a hung jury. So it wasn't that, it was just a mistrial. So it was one of those where at least some jury, they thought he was guilty. He was never declared innocent. I mean, look, you're guilty before innocent, of course, in the American justice system. But I encourage everybody to go and read that original indictment of Mr. Menendez, because it was shocking in 2017. Now, of course, cash isn't the only thing he's got in that jacket pocket. He's got the race card that he's got to go ahead and pull out. And my favorite thing is that after he got the gold, allegedly, he Googled how much is a kilo of gold worth on his phone. That's the most boomer thing you can do. They also found the DNA of the people bribing him on that wad of cash. Just by the way, look, allegedly from the DOJ, all of that. So you can
I'm sure there's a perfectly innocent explanation for the
wads
wads of cash
for those who want
and
to know,
gold bars.
$66,000 is a kilo of gold. And he had 2 of those. So that sounds nice. What a nice life to have 2 bricks of freaking gold. It's like out of a Bond movie that you were seeing this gentleman. But there have been some people that have been coming out to
so actually the New Jersey delegation has turned on him pretty hard. Not across the board, but put this up on the screen from the Wall Street Journal. Most critically, the New Jersey governor, Phil Murphy, who is also a Democrat, called for Menendez's resignation. You had New Jersey representatives, Democratic New Jersey representatives, including Mikey Sherrill, Bill Pascal Jr., and Josh Gottheimer, show favorite, calling for him to leave. So far, his Senate colleague there, Cory Booker, has been silent. Although last time around with the corruption charges, Cory actually came out and affirmatively supported him. So I guess it's progress in some direction. You have Representative Don Beyer of Virginia, who's co-founder of the Egypt Human Rights Caucus and a critic of the current government's human rights record. He said Menendez should step down. You actually have another Democrat, Representative Andy Kim, who has jumped into the Democratic primary to directly challenge Menendez in a primary fight for that Senate seat. So Andy Kim, what he said is that after calls to resign, Senator Menendez said, "I am not going anywhere. As a result, I feel compelled to run against him." By the way, I looked in, Andy Kim is sort of just like very standard issue Democrat, more or less. He's voted with Joe Biden 100% of the time. He hasn't distinguished himself in all that many regards. But anyway, he's just sort of like—
He's not corrupt. So seems like, or at least as we know it.
As far as we know.
Yeah, as far as we know.
This is New Jersey after all. But as far as we know, he hasn't been indicted over corruption charges as Menendez has. So we also had, to the point of the identity-based persecution here, we had very prominent Latina Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez coming out and also calling for him to resign. Let's take a listen.
Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey, as you know, has just been indicted on bribery charges. Should he resign? And what do you think of his statement that it has to do with him being a Latino?
Well, I think the situation is quite unfortunate, but I do believe that it is in the best interests for Senator Menendez to resign in this moment. As you mentioned, consistency matters. It shouldn't matter whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. The details in this indictment are extremely serious. They involve the nature of not just his, but all of our seats in Congress. And while, as a Latina, there are absolutely ways in which there is systemic bias, but I think what is here in this indictment is quite clear. And I believe it is in the best interest to maintain the integrity of the seat.
Yeah. Don't agree with our Latinx colleague AOC all the time. But, first of all, happy she said Latina. At least Latinx appears to have died so far in the lexicon. But she called on him to resign. So, props to her.
Yeah.
And, it's not like it doesn't take actual courage for Democratic lawmakers. I mean, it's no joke in the Senate. He, by all accounts, is going to remain the Senate Foreign Relations Chairman. Schumer hasn't said anything. Many of these other senators don't want to cross him because if you have a single individual thing that you want done, it's not going to happen. He can straight up block it through committee.
So far, there has been one senator, Democratic senator, who has called for him to resign. Is John Fetterman. Put this up on the screen. He says Senator Menendez should resign. I mean, this should be so easy, right?
I know.
He's entitled to the presumption of innocence, but he cannot continue to wield influence over national policy, especially given the serious and specific nature of the allegations. I hope he chooses an honorable exit and focuses on his trial. Yeah. Thank you, Senator Fetterman, for saying the most obvious basic thing that everyone should literally be saying. And it's actually worse than Schumer not saying anything. He did put out a statement in which he praised Menendez's service to New Jersey and said he is entitled to a fair trial and innocent until proven guilty. Now, he has stepped down from being chair of the Foreign Relations Committee, but Schumer, who is the most critical voice probably in all of this, declining to call on him to resign, along with, again, literally every other senator, Democratic senator, save for John Fetterman. Here is Dick Durbin, who is another, powerful United States Democratic senator, declining to call for him to step down. Let's take a listen.
Let me tell you, Dana, this is a very serious charge. There's no question about it. But it bears reminding us of what I've said about the indictments against Donald Trump, equally serious charges. These are, in fact, indictments that have to be proven under the rule of law. The person who is accused is entitled to the presumption of innocence, and it's the responsibility of the government to prove that case. I said that about Donald Trump. Let's say the same thing about Bob Menendez. In terms of resignation, that's a decision to be made by Senator Menendez and the people of New Jersey.
So he's trying to sound very, very serious, whatever there. But the bottom line is he won't call on him to resign.
So apparently he called for Al Franken to resign over
right.
the photo. That was enough for old Dick to come out and say that you got to go. But a straight up federal indictment over corruption is not enough. I mean,
which directly impacts his job. Yeah. I mean, Al Franken allegedly, grabbing someone's boobs, right? That doesn't impact your job as a senator, right? This is, you are literally trading your power and influence to do favors for a foreign government. And you people can't bring yourselves to say, hey, maybe this guy is the right one for the job right now. While there's an ongoing Democratic primary process, by the way, it's absolute insanity.
Yeah.
And Republicans are, of course, getting excited because Menendez is up for re-election in 2024. And they're thinking, hey, maybe we got a shot at this seat. Especially if it's Menendez who ends up being the nominee. He's probably the only Democrat in this era who could lose the New Jersey Senate seat, and yet, they're apparently willing to take the risk on him.
Look, this time around, you got a Democratic governor who already came out and said he should resign. So it's not even an incident, but apparently, as you were saying, he's got a press conference. I think he's going to run for re-election. Everybody thinks that in the press conference from today, he says he's going to run.
That's the expectation.
And, that's the expectation. And guess what? He won last time. He still won, despite the fact that he was, look, in my opinion, he was guilty as hell. Based on the indictment, my own personal opinion of reading of the 2017 original indictment against Menendez, but he beat it at trial in terms of a mistrial. This time around, Who knows? You know, who knows with a New Jersey jury? He has nothing but confidence, though, walking into this. He's going to go and fight it in court, and he very well could win, just like he did last time.
Well, and here's the thing, too, and I'm doing this in my monologue. Like, the Supreme Court has so limited the definition of corruption, which he used before with Bob McDonnell and to cover their own corrupt behavior, et cetera. So, you know, he'll try to use every trick in the book. But, I mean, this seems like a pretty difficult one to wiggle your way out of when you got the literal gold bars in the closet.
I thought the same thing about the last one, about the private jet travel. It was the most basic quid pro quo, and he still got off, so I don't know.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.